Go ahead, Nancy.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unity Center of West Lynn, Oregon. My name is Nancy Lilly, and I am your service leader today. It is a pleasure to welcome and bless each one of you today and always. In Unity, we believe that each of us dwells in spirit, and each of us is here today by divine appointment. The Unity Center is a ministry where people of all ages, backgrounds, and beliefs celebrate the one common spiritual thread that lives in every heart. If you are discovering or returning to Unity or the Unity Center of West Lynn, we invite you to visit our website, www.worldhealing.org. That's worldhealing.org. And to learn more about Unity, we invite you also to go on www.unity.org to learn more about Worldwide Unity. It's a wonderful website full of information and spiritual resources. Let's all come together as our guest speaker, Jan Carothers, opens our Sunday celebration with a centering prayer.
Thank you, Nancy. It is so special to be together in this small group, recognizing the hugeness of the universe, and to know that there is only one life, one mind, one divine heart, and each of us has our life, and we move and we continue in that spirit. And that spirit is one of health, of goodness, of joy. And each of us is in the very center of the mind and heart of God. I speak the word for today for health and for consolation and for our willingness to be the hands and feet of the one. And together we say, thank you, God, for this day. And so it is. Amen.
Amen. Well, now we have a lovely spiritual reading that comes from Marianne Williamson. When things in the world are troubling, my need is to not join the chaos, but to cleave to the peace within. The way to gain power in a world that is moving too fast is to learn how to slow down. The world I want for myself does not emerge from an electronic speed, but rather from a spiritual stillness that takes root in my soul. Then and only then can I create a world that delights my spirit and fulfills my vision. Dear God, may I remember to go deep in each moment, to truly see and hear and reflect on what is happening around me. May the depth of my vision and the clarity of my perceptions then deliver me to a peaceful place. Amen. So now we have a couple of affirmation slides. In this moment, I am aware of the presence of God flowing through me, energizing and renewing all areas of my life. I use my imagination, the creative power of spirit, to think about what I wish to see in my life. My imagination brings possibilities to life.
I believe in giving thanks for the things we have, even when it's lessons learned from a troubled past. I have come to understand that there will always be meaning in the hardest part of just becoming me. I begin each brand new day with a solemn vow, thanking every obstacle, 'cause it teaches how. I know there's a greater plan already there for me, and grateful for the road so far and how it's made me believe that when the past is past and no one knows what's ahead, I can stay right here and know I've come so far, and I am so grateful, and I am so thankful, and I hold this moment when all my failings change perspective. Sometimes wrong is right. I agree that there's a place where the knowing grows, even when to get there means I stumble as I go. I will entertain the fall, it makes me feel alive, and better for the next go round with a brand new state of mind. I will challenge what's in store when the fighting ends. Whether I believe or not doesn't make amends. I can't change the world outside until I change within, but thankfully I know that now, so let the healing begin. And when the past is past and no one knows what's ahead, I can stay right here and know I've come so far, and I am so grateful, and I am so thankful, and I hold this moment when all my failings change perspective. Sometimes wrong is right. When the past is past, as you don't know what's ahead, and we can stay right here and know we've come so far, and I am so grateful, and I am so thankful, and I hold this moment when all my failings change perspective. Sometimes wrong is right, and I am so grateful, and I am so thankful, and I hold this moment when all my failings change perspective. Sometimes wrong is right. I am so grateful.
Oh, I do love that song. So this theme, the theme for Unity this month is imagination. And when I knew that I was going to be speaking this Sunday, and this would be the last time I would be speaking, I began to think, what's the word that's coming through my mind the most? And what is the clue that will give me the theme for the topic? And I kept thinking, looking at the times, looking at where we are in our lives, and the word regret just kept coming through. And I thought, I don't want to write a talk about regret, but that is the theme. And what also came to my mind was that everywhere I look is a clue. And so my imagination took off, and the title for today's talk is Follow the Divine Breadcrumbs, living a life that is regret free. So, once, about 40 years ago, I was invited by my minister to give the talk on Sunday. It was the very first talk I'd ever given. And because I was such an enthusiastic truth student, I was so honored by the opportunity that I set out to pack in every single thing I had learned. And I was so excited, I could not stop. And when I think about that now, I think about it with kind of pink cheeks of embarrassment, but no regret. No regret, because even though it was a newbie's mistake, clearly I have just realized that I'm better now. And I, like you, have been through a lot of experiences. We've had a lot of choices to make, and we've made a lot of those choices, some of which we might have made differently. So we are going to talk about regret, but we're going to talk about it in that sense of how empowering our regrets can be and how much we have learned and how much we can continue to learn from them. When I graduated from college, my mother gave me a very wonderful gift. She gave me a flight over the pole to go to Denmark and to Spain. And late in the nighttime, our airplane landed in Bergen, Norway. And these were the days, you can tell, 1970s, a long time ago. And you could get out and take a walk around break on the tarmac and go into the terminal. It was a little terminal set up against the walls of a fjord, very gray and stony and dusky. And on the walkway back to the terminal, there was a signpost, and it had on it, tacked on it, about 10 different arrow street signs, pointing in different directions. And one said Moscow, and one said Tokyo, and one said Paris, and one said Hollywood, and one said China, and one said the North Pole and the South Pole. It was very funny. But I realized, and I have still seen that picture in my mind after all these years, that if you don't know where you're going, any sign will get you somewhere. So it's very important to have a clear sense of not only where we're going, but who we are, who is going there. So a talk about regret is also a talk about intentions. And as we look back over our lives, there are many sweet wonderings. Maybe what might have been if I'd. I wonder what would have happened if I'd gone to a different school, if I'd chosen a different town, different pathway. And we all have faced a lot of choices, haven't we? But in truth, most of us, if we are lucky, would say that most of our choices have been pretty darn good. And certainly there's some actions and decisions we wish we hadn't made or taken. So we are spiritual people, and we know that if our intention is clear, guidance will also occur. So today I want to talk about finding, recognizing, and following the divine breadcrumbs. And this whole talk was created out of those divine breadcrumbs. So all I did was choose a topic and then say, okay, God, show me what I need to include, and step by step. So interestingly enough, and you will say, well, that was a coincidence. I've come to decide that those are God incidents. So the first one that came up was that I had had my name on a waiting list for a bestseller that's recently out called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. It's so popular that that lots and lots and lots and lots of people. So about 5 months I've been on this waiting list, and it finally came up. So I read the book, and guess what it was about? It was an entirely engaging novel with a very interesting perspective on what if. In the moments, what if in the moments between life and death, there is a personally designed library in which we get to try out all the other lives we didn't live, but could have. It's an engaging plot and it's an engrossing idea. So if I were going to give you a piece of fun homework, I would suggest that you read The Midnight Library. So last week, our wonderful licensed Unity teacher, Sandra Combs, explored the idea of transition, the structure of the process that we all go through as we move through making changes, and especially the major life changes that we've all been facing in this time. That's the time, the thing that's so interesting and challenging about transitions is we understand an ending, and we even understand a beginning, but it's that space in between. She called it the void. It's got lots of other names. There's a long spiritual tradition of calling that the bardo. There's even a bardo school of Buddhism, this exploration of the gap, the space, the tunnel. If you'll remember, Reverend Evan Wilkins gave us a series of talks on Reverend Ellen Debenbort, the Unity teacher and author. She wrote a book called Hell in the Hallway. She named that space the hallway. This is certainly a particular time, and it can be, very often is, a feeling of being lost or floating or uncertain, unclear, not a sense of solidity. What is also true about this time is that it's predictable. We don't know what it's going to be like, but we do know that it's going to be there. And we do know that we're not going to feel great. It's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable time. So maybe it would be good for us to, predicting that that space is likely, and as we close our center as it is now, move into a different form of community together, it might be really good for us to leave some breadcrumbs. So think about Hansel and Gretel. Who left the breadcrumbs and why? Well, Hansel left the breadcrumbs because he and his little sister suspected that they were being taken into the woods for ill reasons. And they were right, certainly. The breadcrumbs were their savings because they thought to leave them. If we can leave breadcrumbs, don't you think that with clear intention and given who we are, that God also supports us with breadcrumbs of one kind or another? Do you know that there's actually a school in computer programming called breadcrumb navigation? Breadcrumb navigation. These are the clues that programmers put into a system of software that helps you and I, the users, find our way around websites to know where we are. They're like the arrows pointing you were here, you're going there, which gives us some choice and some feeling of certainty. So we have breadcrumbs, and the trick is to be willing to open our eyes and ears and senses to those. Then the second thing that's required, as God always requires us to be willing to follow, to recognize guidance and to move on it, Currently, the spiritual groups are reading a book called Divine Audacity. Audacity, what a great word. Audacious enthusiasm, audacious boldness to take the step to approach an ending, knowing that there will be a space and then a new beginning. But in the meantime, what will we be doing? We need to give ourselves permission to lean a bit. I would recommend planning a couple of great books for the time ahead. And in fact, many people use the pandemic, that great void that we've been through for so many. It hasn't been a void for everybody. Some people have used it in wild creativity. And I would say that our community has done that. We have learned so much in this time. We've worked hard to learn how to have a digital community and maintain our friendships and our connections and support. And this is a time that you can plan to give in to some of the things that you have meant to do, some of the regrets that you've had. So lean a bit on your friends, give in to cat days. They don't last forever. If you're working, go to work, join a grief support group. List all the beautiful places that you've meant to go, but you regretted not going. Walk alone or with others. Find new ways to meditate. Because when we do, we are so much more open to divine breadcrumbs. And when nothing feels like doing it, like mom, I'm bored, just breathe. Breathing itself is a huge divine breadcrumb. The fact that we are able to, this time has given us a poignancy around breathing that I have never really had, because it's given us such a clear sense that breath is life, breath is spirit. Breathing from our spirit and our soul, breathing in love and releasing regret, remorse, fear, doubt, anger, ego, hate, upsets, breathing with the lungs of God. There was a strange and wonderful movie about 20 years ago called Memento. And I'm going to give you a spoiler, so be alert. It was about a man who had severe memory loss, and he kept finding clues to help him solve a mystery. The movie was shot so that it started at the end and moved backwards through to the beginning. Don't some of us find ourselves reviewing our lives from now backward through to the beginning? And at the end, he discovers that he wrote those clues, and then he picked them up along the way to solve a murder. Some of us need to be giving ourselves more clues, more footholds. Take the guidance that we have and recognize that there are things that we've done in the past that we would not do again, right? So how do we hold ourselves about those? Do we write ourselves, you were so stupid, you were so this, you were thoughtless, you were all these kinds of things? Is that the kind of memo we're leaving ourselves? Is that going to empower us? Versus, wow, look at what you learned. Look at how you were different now. Look how far you've come, as the song said. And be so grateful for the learnings. there are people, and I'm sorry when I encounter people who live with regrets so heavily that they dim their own lights. It's time for us to polish the lenses. If you're holding on to anything, we cannot change the past, not even 1 second ago. All we can do is give ourselves breadcrumbs to remember, to pick up on the divine messages that teach us and remind us. If you've harmed people through thoughtlessness or ill will, you have some opportunities to make some choices and changes. You have, if you follow 12 steps, you have the opportunity to make amends unless you cause further harm. So you can never recover by causing further harm. But at the same time, are you keeping your own personal internal account book of regrets and holding it against yourself? Possibly. There are times when we think we've truly ruined someone else's lives. But relationships can turn around, and some relationships should end, and some organizations do close, and some businesses do fail, and some lives are sad. It is not fully our responsibility. There is very little that we alone can do. My good friend, my good friend Jody Stevenson, she says, watch the tendency to think that we are completely at cause in someone else's life or that we're responsible for someone else's life. She says lovingly, but clearly, with all due respect, you are not that powerful. We're not responsible for other people's lives. We are responsible for our own. So making amends is entirely appropriate. And every major religion, every major faith seems to have some capacity for atonement. Jews have the Day of Atonement, a complete, deep spiritual practice. Catholics have confession. We simply have to recognize and do better. Recognize and do better. But the divine does not keep accounts the same way some of us do. So our job is to do our own work. If you want to atone, do something that will actually contribute to making life better. So many of us do, and at the same time, we all know where we have space to grow. And let God be God in our lives. Let God be God. So the question is how, where we see a regret, how do we want to live from this moment forward? And what do we not want to miss in this great life? We've lost wonderful people in these last few months in our own community. How do we want to live going forward? So you tell the truth about your regrets. And if there was bad behavior, you stop. You take responsibility. You confess if that's what's called for. You ask for forgiveness, but more importantly, you forgive yourself. It's once said that an ounce of courage is much more. Now, let me say it right. An ounce of courage costs much less than a pound of regret. So you release and you move on. If you are spending your time mired in a river or floating in a river of regret or wandering in a forlorn forest, find the ways to discover how to live life more joyously. I realize that sometimes we are depressed. Sometimes we do have mental uh, conditions that need to be cared for. Often we need to find a counselor. Almost always, we find we need to do more of our centering prayer because we are still spirits having a human experience, and that includes messing up, doing less than our best sometimes, acting small and petty, and sometimes not being as bold and courageous as we would wish. We have the experience of being ego driven sometimes. And we do sometimes think that we are cause in all matters. And we're fragile, we're vulnerable, and we erect elaborate systems of defense to admit that we are. We are very critical, and at the same time, we are God having these experiences. So, looking forward, if you say, if only I'd been smarter, working harder, choosing better, didn't get so wrapped up, I want to introduce you to a wonderful Australian singer, songwriter, and author, another breadcrumb I discovered in my writing here, Bronnie Ware. Bronnie Ware. She was a hospice care worker for many years for people who were dying. She had a wonderful pathway to get to this work. And she wrote a book that has been translated into many, many languages. And you won't be surprised probably to hear what she learned from all of those dying clients, because perhaps you know these things yourself now. She distilled them and wrote a book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying: How to Live a Life of No Regret. And the 5 key things that she said were so universal. The first, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. That does take courage. That more even than courage, it takes the willingness to look deeply to say, who is that person that I am? Who is that person that I want to be? Second, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. You can say, oh, yes, but. By the way, yes, but is another great breadcrumb to take you down the pathway. So I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Number 3, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. Number 4, I wish I'd stayed in touch with more of my friends. And number 5, I wish I had let myself be happier. Let myself be happier. Those certainly can resonate in bits and pieces with me. We are so fortunate to be so aware, to have unity truth principles, to have heard from so many brilliant teachers, not just this year, but for all the years. We are living a very enlightened life. And at the same time, we put things off, don't we? And it seems like most of these regrets were either about courage or putting something off until later. Happiness is now. It's not sometime I'll be happier. It's either happiness now. The Dalai Lama said, what does happiness look like? He said to him, it looks like satisfaction. You don't have to be joyful all the time to be happy. You have to be satisfied. These people, when they were leaving, did not say, I wish I had beaten myself up more. They didn't say, I would have had more money, had a nicer life. They said the things that were dear to them. I wish I had stayed in touch, had more courage, had not worked so hard, had let myself be happier. we begin to notice that often what there really is to do is to just breathe and relax and open our eyes and ears and heart and spirit, because there are answers available to us. Sometimes it feels more appropriate to be dramatic and rend and tear and blame and regret. Very dramatic, but not so helpful on the spiritual path. What possible good does it do to flay yourself over the past? Wouldn't it be more useful to contemplate, to inquire, to explore, to ask ourselves more empowering questions, not questions like, why was I so stupid? But rather, what was I trying to make happen? To tell our truth. You know, we see remarkably happy people in the world who have very little. It's, I think, really useful for us to recognize that our happiness is an inside job. And so if you're swirling in that river of regret, or haunted by roads not taken, or lost in a snarl of forsaken forest, I recommend again that you stop now. You open your eyes now. You look at the very next thing you see. Look at the fortune in the cookie. Look around in your life and see what you've been clipping out. Look at what you say, I wish I'd had more time and I would have. Sweetly explore who you are becoming now and let that identity of the past fall away. Following the breadcrumbs is connecting life's clues. And sometimes they appear as coincidences or God incidences. But what are some of the other big clues? What are your dreams? What are the ideas that keep recurring, that keep going through your mind, that prompt you to be in touch with so-and-so? You can never tell. At least you're enlivening somebody else's life. Your intuition and your imagination are the province of unconscious mind and spirit. And we know that there is more power there than our conscious mind ever really fully uses. And what gifts do you wish you had used? It's okay to do something for a while. It's okay not to have continued. But if you want to continue, there's ways to do things. Maybe it's time to start taking the piano lessons again that you quit when you were 12. But maybe it's okay that you didn't continue. It's okay to learn without an achievement goal. It's okay to do art, even if you never plan to sell it. Did you know that at our age, most of us at our age, you can take classes at PSU and get a pass to the university library? The classes are free if you take them for no credit. For $25, you get a student ID and a pass to the all library resources. If you're stuck with coulda, shoulda, woulda, let's find a new path of action. So it's an inside job, but very often it requires some action. I have a long list of fun things I could have done, should have done, maybe, but I don't really regret that I didn't do them. Interestingly enough, I find the things I really regret are the small, petty things where I hurt somebody's feelings or didn't follow through that I thought I would. And those things take some courage to repair. But that thought that you haven't done enough, by whose count? Make a list of your accomplishments. And what if you were going through a really blue funk and you said, well, nothing I did really made an impact. I thought of this great activity. I think that we should all make an It's a Wonderful Life board. Do you remember It's a Wonderful Life when poor George thought that he needed to jump off the bridge because he had made no difference in other people's life and he was worth more dead for the insurance money than alive? And the angel Clarence showed him his whole entire life as it would have been if he had not been there. So, whose life would have been radically different if you had not been there? Make an It's a Wonderful Life board. Make a notebook of the things that still linger with you, but not a bound book, a 3-ring notebook where you can take the pages out. Put the thing you regret on each page. Do some internal work. Write yourself a new affirmation. Make yourself a new page with your future on it and take out the old page and crumble it and throw it away. Our own wonderful Marilee Payne said, we have one of the most powerful spiritual tools available to us all the time. 2 words, I am. I am. If you notice the names of our songs, I am grateful. The next song, I am a hero. Take that new page and write yourself new I am affirmations. As you go through your life and you look at the things around you and the hobbies you started and the things you bought that are no longer, you're not going to use them. If what comes up is, I might use it sometime. I should get going with this. I should do this. If you know that your answer to them is that they produce no joy, no energy, and they're just a should, let them go like an old skin. Write yourself a new page. Write yourself a new chapter, because that's where we are. And the divine breadcrumbs are leading us to a new doorway to our destiny. That, by the way, is the title of an early Jody Stevenson book, Doorway to Your Destiny. So if you have some lingering longings, move on them. You want to sing? Sing. You want to take lessons? Take lessons. If you want to make money still, make money still. Find your way to be alive in the lives of the people that you love. Most of all, let's stop complaining. So where are the individual breadcrumbs? Where are the wake-up calls? Somebody came to Unity and the message was clearly for you. Someone out of the blue invited you to a class. It changed your life. It changed your consciousness. The libraries are open. They just bought a new book. Listen to something on YouTube. If you start saying yes, but, that is a big clue. If it's followed by maybe someday, you know that is not where you're headed. Let it go, turn around, sit quietly, and listen to what the universe has for you. It's all divine breadcrumbs. And I know that they're all there because at my Weight Watchers meeting yesterday, the speaker closed with this quote. She said, if there were no struggles and changes, there would be no butterflies. Ask yourself, will I be proud of myself? Is this something my children and grandchildren will be proud of? Will this make the future a little brighter for the next generation? Will it make me who I want to be? Write yourself some new affirmations. I am an open-hearted, loving, responsible person. I do what aligns with my spiritual nature. I do not choose to be anything to myself, to do anything to myself or others that will ever make me feel bad about myself. I'm a person who loves and supports and not harms others. And finally, I am an imaginative, energetic participant in creating peace and sharing love now. And so it is. Thank you for this great year. I love you all. Amen.
In this life shall come moments of challenge, when the shapes and the forms tumble down, when the ego will rise with resistance, as the darkness does dance all around, when the child will reach out for assistance from a God who seems so far away. Though everything's blurred, a connection is heard, spark is ignited, a memory stirs from out of the ethers in silence. From within the heart's a ceaseless void, a rider comes over the mountains, emblazoned in power and joy. And the fog opens up like a Red Sea. A sweet song sweeps over the land. And with the rider and horse fast approaching, I remember like a hero I can. Oh, set me upon raging rivers, hang me out over the ledge. Turn out those lights if you must, but I tell you this warrior shall dance on the edge. Nothing shall keep me from center. Fear shall be my greatest friend. And I'll rise from the ashes of the choices I've laid to protect the king till the end. For I am a hero. I am a hero. Again and again. Again and again. So I call upon all of you heroes, whose spirit and deeds fill our lives. In Anna, Amelia, and Rachel, Ulysses and Martin and John, Jamie and Mikey and Peter, Aaliyah, Nancy and Anne, you and me, Gandhi and Biko, come gather and join as we stand. Oh, set me upon raging rivers, hang me out over the ledge. Turn out those lights if you must, but I tell you this warrior shall dance on the edge. And nothing shall keep me from center. Fear shall be my greatest friend. And I'll rise from the ashes of the choices I've laid to protect the king till the end. For I am a hero. You are a hero. We all are heroes. We all are heroes. Again and again. Again and again. Oh, again and again. Oh, again and again. In this life shall come moments of challenge, when the shapes and the forms tumble down.
I love that song. I hope you all did too. But Jan, your talk especially, I loved. It was deeply meaningful and deeply inspiring of what we can do, how even though we regret we haven't blah blah blah, at any moment we can stop and go, wait a minute, I can do it now. I will do it now. Very meaningful. So this is the time for our offering. Every week we remind ourselves of our abundance, and some of the forms of abundance we have are messages that inspire and sustain us, a community in which we are loved and appreciated, and the unity principles that liberate us with truth. And I want to add to that a community of people with whom we can interact and share projects and feel the power and the richness of human relationships. As we are gifted, so we give, and we are grateful for every one of those gifts. We have an intention as we celebrate our 31st year. We remember that the completion of something well used and beloved is the anonymous seed for something new. So please read and energize with me. Spirit-led, we are co-creating a vibrant, inclusive community, welcoming and supporting everyone on their spiritual journey. It's easy to give. You can go to our website, www.worldhealing.com, and at the bottom of the page there's a big button that says donate. You can use that. You can do it with PayPal. You can use your debit or credit card. You can drop a check in the mail to our office address, which is also on the website. Every gift is gratefully received and circulated to do the work of the Unity Center, our Unity Center, and also ultimately the Worldwide Unity Center. We know when we give, it returns to us, pressed down and running over in the experience. Today we bless our gifts and offerings, and we say, God's love in me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. So we are still operating, and we are still grateful for your continuing support, participation, contributions, and your heart and spirit. This is a time when we especially appreciate and love our spiritual community, all these people that we've become so fond of and so bonded to and come to love so much. So during this closure time, here's what's happening. We've got a Unity Task Force, which is meeting weekly at 11 o'clock. And within that task force, there are teams that are addressing all the various aspects of closing. Your board is meeting bi-weekly to talk about stuff that the board has to decide. And if you have any questions or things that you want the board to cover, feel free to call or email the office so that we will know about those things. We will be here online giving a service every Sunday through June 27th. through the end of this month. And I'm going to be talking to you about who the speakers are going to be shortly. After that, the office will be open probably through July, and we'll be dealing with the administrative aspects that haven't been completed yet. So there'll be some of us doing various things. The most important thing of all is to remember we're having a party. We're having a celebration, closing party to celebrate this place that's been around for 31 years. It's going to be at the center. It's going to be outside in the gardens. We're going to have, well, we're hoping to have some live music. We're going to have some food. We're going to have, we've got some plans to have a really meaningful day to celebrate ourselves and our center and the love that will go on. Times and detail, well, yeah, specific time and details will be on their way, but July 18th, reserve your spot because you won't want to miss it. Okay, now these are announcements. The goods that we've accumulated at the church, they're in storage. We're going to be giving away. There are some things like the piano and office equipment that's going to go to the World Healing Institute. There are some things such as candles that churches use in their ceremonies and some of those huge tablecloths and things like that that are going to go to the Lutheran Church. Everything else is available to you. So there's a distribution team that's been going through that and sorting it out and seeing what's there. And we're going to be having a giveaway day on Friday, June the 11th from 12 to 5. So you come to the church, you can come to the office, and we're going to have stuff laid out. You'll be conducted to where that place is. And you can look at it and see what you think. There's going to be, candles and vases and tablecloths and books and pictures. There is some office furniture that will be given away. You can't have that, of course, till after Sharon's through with it at the end of July, but you can put your name on it. So 12 to 5 are the hours. Come to the Lutheran Church and see what we got. See what you'd like. If those hours don't work for you for some reason, then say something. Tell me, and I will find a way to see if we can make it work. Olivia and Marilee, who've worked so hard on this project, are going to be the ones to greet you, and they know everything that's there, and they'll be able to tell you chapter and verse what you need to know. Our office is going to be open, as I said, at least through July until the administrative work is complete. Several key unity activities are going to continue beyond the closing of the church. Things that we love and don't want to let go of. Things like Food from the Heart, the Women's Circle, the Men's Group, some of the annual events like Toy Day. These are all things that there's a great desire to continue and stay connected in doing them. I think that's it for the details of the announcements of what's coming up. Now, our upcoming speakers. Next Sunday is going to be a big day. Going to have a fellow named Chris Nachi. Chris is a black belt. What is he? Black belt, 8th degree black belt in martial arts. Yeah. He's also the former United States national champion. What he does for work is to coach champions. And I think all of us know, certainly we in Unity know, that what you're saying to yourself in your mind, what belief you have in yourself, what trust you have in yourself is the key to being a champion. You can have the physical skills, but it doesn't work without that mind strength. And Chris teaches and coaches people in that. So he's going to be coming to talk to us. He's been a longtime member of the Mile High Center for Spiritual Living in Denver. And his theme will be imagination and vision, which he's developed to a high degree. I'm happy he'll be with us, and I know he'll give an inspiring talk. Next Sunday, which is Father's Day, we're going to have another excellent speaker. You may remember her name is Kathy Harwood Long, and she's been a long-time associate of this church and of Victoria, of New Thought, certainly. She and her husband, Matthew, had the Christ Light Unity Church in Gresham, and they now live, teach, and minister in Michigan. Reverend Victoria will also participate that day. In fact, Kathy will be staying at Victoria's houses, I believe, and broadcasting from there. So that day will have a lot of, oh, okay, Julie, off to your dog. Bye-bye. So that day will have a lot of meaning for everybody. Our final service on the 27th is going to be Reverend Christine Green and Reverend Christine Varigan. You know both those people. I know that we've had them many times, and Christine is particularly good at having a service involving rituals that rituals that properly honor various kinds of events and traditions. That's going to be at the regular Zoom time of 10:30. And the service may last a little longer that day, actually, because they've got something planned that's pretty terrific. So that is it for the indoor services. Well, for the Zoom services. Then we're going to be continuing things like Food from the Heart. We have one planned, in fact, for June. Team leader there is Mary Troxel. And you know all to sign up via computer to bring things for that meal. I think all of you know what the purpose of that meal is, so I won't bother to repeat it. On June 13th. Is that right? June 13th. Yeah, on June 13th, there's going to be a celebration of life for Cindy Simmons, our long beloved member, Cindy Simmons. Lovely, beautiful, bright lady. And she passed away at Christmas. She was in her mid-90s and still so beautiful, sweet, and living. Her granddaughter, Wenna, is inviting all of us to come and celebrate her. Reverend Victoria will be leading the celebration, and it'll be at 2:00 on the 13th. Again, it's going to be in the gardens at the church. And because of COVID, we have to follow the protocols, which means we need your RSVP to know if you're coming so that we can make sure that people are properly placed. We also need to know if you are bringing people and you're going to be sitting together, so we can group family groups or group friend groups. And also how many tables we're going to need. So please RSVP to the office phone 503-697-9765 by Friday, June the 11th, latest, or by email at wesleyanunitycenter@gmail.com. I have a note here that says, please don't assume. We know you will be coming in. Of course, you will bring your spouse, because we don't know. We have to be sure, so we can properly place you. The Women's Circle will be continuing. And in fact, this month, we're going to be having a live in-person meeting with a lasagna potluck dinner. And it's going to be at the church. Olivia is organizing this, and something special. There's going to be something special that she will announce in a little more detail later. Be sure and read your e-news every Thursday, because you can see we still have things going on, and we invite you to stay connected. by reading that newsletter and making sure that you know what's happening. If you don't currently receive it, please sign up for it on our email list. Go to the website, www.worldhealing.org. If at any time you desire healing and spiritual support for personal challenges, or simply want someone to pray with you, don't forget Silent Unity for personal and written prayer support 24 hours a day. Now, thank you for that slide. 24 hours a day. They've been in operation, I believe, for 27 years. Now we're going to have some affirmation slides. And you're welcome to read these to yourself or to read them out loud. I'm going to read them for you. So, inner peace. I am peace at the core of my being. Guidance. I listen to inner wisdom and I'm guided to serve my purpose. Healing. Healing energy flows throughout my being, renewing my mind and my body. Prosperity. God is my source. Freely I give and freely I receive. World peace. My thoughts, words, and actions create a space for peace and love. Using our imagination, we express our willingness to trust, to see, to hear, and to recognize the guidance that will bring us back to our center always. Here's a small meditation, which you can find for yourself at dailyword.com. It's about trust and surrender. Let go, let God. Please sit back, relax, and let the images and the words carry you deeper into consciousness and land in your soul center.
Let go, let God. I let go and let divine life fulfill itself in and through me. The phrase "let go and let God" is more than an effective affirmation. It's a way of life. When problems or challenges arise, I make a conscious decision to see myself in unity with divine life, to let go of my attachment to a problem and yield to a spiritual solution. This is when I am truly letting go and letting God. God lives in me and flows freely through me. God in me is my path to freedom, abundance, peace, and harmony. If I become mired in fear, doubt, and frustration, I block the flow of God life. Letting go opens me to the power of inspiration, insight, wisdom, and love. I let go and let God manifest in my life as new adventure, unexpected pleasures, and unlimited potential. I live in unity with God. Let the Lord your God show us where we should go and what we should do. Jeremiah 42:3.
Thank you, Sharon. So as we move to complete our service today, we symbolically blow out our candles. So where are our candles? Here they come. Isn't that beautiful? So here's our light, and we symbolically blow it out. But we know the real truth, which is the light never goes out, because we are the light. Please join me muted in your home as we say the prayer of transformation. The light of God is in us. The love of God moves through us. The power of God transforms us. The presence of God is who we are. Wherever we go, God is, and all is well. So this week, let Spirit light your way. Listen, notice, recognize, and follow your own divine breadcrumbs to return you to your center, to be truly home, right here and right now. Thank you so much, Unity friends, those near and those far, for your support and participation. And we invite you to join us after the service just by staying on this link, because we're going to have some lively conversation and connection time, especially if you're new. Join us. Join us here again through June, as we said. And if you want to see our services in the past, we are on YouTube under West Lynn Unity Center. As soon as we turn the recording off,